All right, going to talk about properties of addition and multiplication. These are the laws that justify what we do in math. Now, I want you to think back to hopefully a history class you've taken. Maybe you've talked about the Constitution. So a lot of people, so imagine somebody, he's out on a street corner and he's talking about whatever he's talking about, and the police say you can't say that. And he's like, well, yes, I can, because the Constitution in the First Amendment gives me the freedom of speech. So what he's doing is he's saying, I have the freedom of speech, and he's saying that's because of Amendment 1 to the Constitution. So he's citing the law that lets him do what he's doing. Our country debates gun ownership at sometimes, right? And the Second Amendment, some people read it, well, it says that we have the right to bear arms and it shouldn't be unabridged, but I don't want to get into the debate, but people quote the law when they're saying things about guns and gun control. They quote the Second Amendment. Or if some 18-year-old goes up to vote and the voting person says, you're not old enough to vote, well, the 18-year-old can say, yes, I'm old enough to vote. The 26th Amendment gives me the right to vote at 18. Now, it doesn't give a 17-year-old the right to vote, but it gives an 18-year-old the right to vote. So we have these amendments. We have the First Amendment about speech. We have the Second Amendment about gun ownership. And we have the 26th Amendment about the right to vote at 18. And we have the Fifth Amendment that about self-incrimination. So we have these things and we quote it. We say the First Amendment gives me this right. The Second Amendment gives me this right. The 26th Amendment gives me this right. So what are the rights that we have under math? So here are kind of our big things. We have identities. And you can say, I can do this because of identities. We have the commutative property. And you're going to say, I can do this because of the commutative property. And associative property and zero product property. So let me show you what these look like. Identity for addition. What this means is that if I have a number, pick a number, 7, plus 0 equals 7. So you're going to tell me, hey, I can add 0 and it doesn't change. Why can I do that? Because the law, the identity for addition, says I can add 0. The identity for multiplication, well, let's pick a number again. 8 times 1 equals 8. And why can I do that? Because of the identity for multiplication. It lets me multiply by 1. And why are these called identities? Because nothing's changing. 7 plus 7 is still 7. The identity of the number didn't change. It's like if I put a hat on my head, does it change who I am? No. 8 times 1, is that changing anything? No. That's why it's called an identity. The number's identity or the variable's identity isn't changing. It's still the same thing. Commutative property. For addition, looks like this. X plus y is the same as y plus x. 3 plus 5 equals 5 plus 3. That's commutative. What it really lets me do is just kind of switch the locations of the numbers or the variables. And the way I think of it, commutative, think about this. You drive from Yucaipa to Los Angeles to Yucaipa. Yucaipa to Los Angeles to Yucaipa. Like a commute, like maybe your parents commute to work. It also works for multiplication. X times y equals y times x. 2 times 8 equals 8 times 2. That is the commutative property. The associative property. This one's going to let me change my parentheses, move them around. Think about groups, associations. Who are your associatives at school? Who do you associate with? What group are you in? That's why it's called associative. So addition, x plus the group, y, oh, excuse me, there should be a y. So X plus group YZ equals group XY plus Z. The only thing that happened is that the parentheses moved around. That's it. If only the parentheses are moving, it's a commutative property. And it also works for multiplication. X, Y, Z equals X, Y, Z. If only the parentheses are moving, it's commutative. And the zero product property basically says that anything times 0 is 0. So X times 0 equals 0. There you go. Anything times 0 is 0. Go practice those. Thanks for watching. And I'm still going. I think I spent more time talking about the Constitution than the math. Maybe I should become a history teacher. Probably not. Okay, bye.